I believe we're live streaming. I'm learning the timing on this. Welcome. Welcome. This is video number 30. Video number 30. We have made it to number 30. Elsie Lincoln Benedict's How to Get Anything You Want. We are continuing lesson 2, Remake Your Mood. Continuing reading the rules. The rules that she set forth to, she has so many rules, I forgot why she started saying these rules. Let's look into it. Here we go. When you realize that not one thing that has ever happened to you could have hurt you had you applied this great principle, and that nothing in the future can hurt you except as you use it against yourself, you can rebuild your entire outlook. So when we use these principles of controlling our mind, let me bring this microphone closer. Okay. When we control our mind and we use switching our negative mental attitude, right? If we find ourselves in the basement and we go to the penthouse, when we use these tools of being vigilant and choosing our thoughts, reframing our thoughts, we can rebuild our entire outlook. Here are the specific steps which will, if adhered to, eventually remake your life. So we went through all the different rules. If you've missed any of them, there are 29 videos before this, reading this whole book. We're reading it together and we're learning as we go. I love Elsie Lincoln Benedict. I love this book. Yesterday, we left off on rule number 13. She says, make it a point to attend meetings, lectures, conventions, concerts, church, etc., where the message of hope prevails. So that's like present day personal development, right? Going to seminars, lectures, coaching groups, stuff like that. To surround yourself with positive, like-minded people. It's so important because as we learned a couple lessons back or a couple rules back, auto-suggestion, the power of suggestion, everything we're taking in from our 5 physical senses is affecting us. It's truly is, it affects us. And our subconscious mind, trust me, there's so many thoughts that go in every single day. We cannot possibly control them, obviously, but we can manage the ones we get emotionally involved with. We highly underestimate the power of our subconscious mind and how much is actually coming in. All right, rule 14. When things go wrong in your work, say to yourself, these are merely annoyances, incident to my business. To let them irritate me signifies I am not big enough for my business. Ooh. Whatever your work, environment, or field of endeavor, bear in mind that there are bound to be certain difficulties inherent in it, since it is a human institution. Rule 15. If you are an employer of any kind, you are sure to meet with stupidity and inefficiency occasionally. Instead of letting these enrage you, remind yourself of another of Hubbard's maxims. If he had my brains, he'd have my job. Rule 16. Wow, that's just like a mic drop moment. So if you employ people and you get frustrated, just remind yourself, if this person, my employee, if they had my brains, they would have my job. So let's have a little bit of grace and mercy for them because they don't think like you or they would be you, right? Rule 16. If you are an employee, bear the same thing in mind. Instead of becoming blindly angry when the boss calls you down, search for the grain of truth in what he says about you and let it grow into self-improvement. Otherwise, you will be forever taking orders from others. Ooh, this is so good. Instead of harboring resentments, planning to get even, or feeling abused when you seem not to be appreciated, try to figure out what is wrong with you and how to command appreciation. It's so true. No matter what happens, if we experience a difficult situation or conversation, always go within. I always do that. Okay, what was my part in it? Where did I go wrong? Of course, I can point fingers and blame, and I might even be right. But at the end of the day, why did that happen? Right? What could I do to avoid that in the future? Have more clarity and communication. All right. Rule 17. On the other hand, don't think you are hopeless because you are not perfect. One of the brightest girls I ever knew was on the verge of a nervous collapse when this rule came to her attention. She had worked hard and wanted to make a 100% record. Whenever anything went wrong, when an error was found in her department, she broke down and was almost ill for days afterward. When she decided to do her best and let the rest go, her nervousness and self-consciousness disappeared. Hence, her work improved until it was practically faultless. Today, she is one of the healthiest, happiest, and most successful businesswomen of the Pacific Coast. Hey, girl. In this connection, remember also that you can never make any other human being completely, permanently happy. That's the truth. I was just reading over the idea like principles over personality. They say that in the 12-step program when you're in the rooms and you're sharing your journey and your story. But it's true for life. When you work with people and they irritate you, it's like, what's the principles? Like, what are you guys all working towards? Put principles before personalities. You might not get along with everybody, not everyone's going to be your best friend. But what are the principles you're sticking to? What are your ethics? If you're all on the same team working towards the same goal, uh, put the principles and the main goal over the personalities. Don't take it personal because it's not. How other people behave is is has nothing to do with you, right? And how you behave has nothing to do with other people. We might think it does, but it's really about us keeping our side of the street clean. All right. In this connection, remember also that you can never make any other human being completely, permanently happy. Perfect happiness is something no individual can give to another and which each must acquire for himself if he is ever to have it. But there are numberless men and women who are wretched all the time because someone whom they feel unduly responsible for, husband, wife, child, or parent, is not supremely happy. They forget that happiness is an accomplishment each must achieve for himself. That's the truth. We can no more attain it for others than we could by taking their piano lessons, make good musicians out of them. Oh, that's funny. Okay. So people forget that happiness is an accomplishment each must achieve for himself. We can no more attain it for others than we could by taking their piano lessons and making them good musicians. Destructive moods finally begin to dominate our lives from one of the two main tendencies: too much selfishness or too much unselfishness. In all our moods, if all of our moods center around yourself, if all your moods center around yourself, your possessions, the way people treat you, the money you have or hope to have, or are afraid you won't have, the way things are going to affect you, you belong largely to the former, selfish. But if you are so sensitive to the feelings, hopes, and rights of others that you are constantly afraid of hurting them, you belong to the latter, selfless. And what is more, you are causing the very ones you love best a good deal of needless anxiety. I know a family of 10 in which all the members keep themselves miserable, worrying over each other's difficulties. Each one is amply able to bear his own if he would only stick to his own. But each carries those of every other member, thus weighing himself down with the burdens, often instead concerned by incapacitating himself for his own affairs. That's so true. Like when you realize that, you're with a group of people or with a family member and everyone's just all up in each other's biz and they're not, ooh, I've definitely been in situations like that. Just certain people that are they're always concerned. Like I swear, I have never been a nosy person. I don't think I have a nosy bone in my body. Like I couldn't be nosy if I tried. I truly, maybe that makes me selfish. I don't know. But like I could not care less what other people are doing. Like I remember when I was in high school. Okay. I swear there were some nosy people surrounding me. They always knew what like shoes other people had, like slight changes in other people's wardrobes. I'm like, I honestly, there was people, I will never forget this. Someone commented on someone's shoes, and I'm like, I don't think I ever look at anybody's shoes. Like, why would you care what kind of shoes other people had? Like, I never, you know what? But I think it was like just wasn't observant. Maybe because I was so anxious, I was always in my head. But I do always remember that. I'm like, how do you even know that about those people? Like that takes effort, energy. I think I was always just in my own head. Like I never, I mean, I was always kind and nice to everybody. If you went to school with me, you know I was really nice. I was nice to everybody. I was kind. And I would stand up for people if people were talking crap on them. I was not a mean girl, although at times I surrounded myself with some. But no, I never put up with that stuff. But, guilty by association for sure. Um, People who weren't always considerate. But yeah, just, I don't know, when other people are so concerned with other people's lives, just like, why do you even care? But I guess, I've always been a very disciplined, focused person on my own goals. That's why I love personal development. And I'm truly always focusing on where I'm going. It's like that picture of the person in the swim lane. It's like looking at the other lane. What, why are you looking at anybody else? Like focus on where you're going. Winners focus on where they're going. People who accomplish things. And I have always been a very driven and focused person, even if it's in the wrong direction. And I've run into walls. Um, it could be a good thing or a bad thing, but thank God, I learned my lesson of where to put my energy, attention, and focus. But yeah, concerning yourself in other people's affairs, always paying attention to what they're doing, like that boggles my mind. It's very interesting. I guess, you know, I always thought like, God, if I ever got robbed, like I would never know how to describe the person because I'm just like, I don't know if I'm not an observant person. Like energy, very much I read energy, but like specifics of like, well, what shoes were they wearing? What color was their outfit? I'm like, I do not remember. I really don't. It's fascinating. I'm just thinking of a lot of funny stories, but anyways. All right. Each carries other people's burdens all up in each other's business instead of focusing on their own. That's not no bueno. No man was intended to ride through life on the back of another. We only weaken others, especially young people, when we try to relieve them of all responsibility. This is especially true when we try to relieve them of the responsibility of making themselves happy. Yeah, it's each individual's person. And you can see that with a lot of parents. God bless them. Parents just want the best for their kids, but always trying to be the source of your children's happiness when at the end of the day, like they have to learn how to live on their own. And you're not the source of their happiness. We are a part of each other's happiness and joy in a healthy relationship, but we're not the source. We need to allow other people to find that within themselves. Rule 18, do not allow yourself to gather a long list of things you just can't stand. Such a mood is like a fly for multiplying. If you encourage yourself today in imagining there are 3 things you can't and won't endure, this time next year there will be a dozen, and in 5 years, 100. That's so true when people say, I have pet peeves. Oh, I can't stand that. Ugh. It's like, why are you focusing on that? Right? What you focus on expands. And so if you're always noticing, grudges, grievances, annoyances, it's like those are going to multiply, she's saying. And you always know people like that. I have no tolerance. I said that at the beginning of the year. I have zero tolerance. Zero tolerance for pessimism, criticism, doubt, people without integrity, like boundaries. Boundaries. All right. So you'll have a bunch if you focus on that. Did you ever stop to think that one of the main reasons why old maids of both sexes are so unattractive is that there are so many things they simply can't bear? They won't eat this, they can't go out in this or that kind of weather, they never read this or wear that or do something else, blah, blah, blah. It's like they're just picky people, touchy people, finicky people, hard to please people. It's like they suffer alone. That's sad, but it's the truth. That's why we have to really catch these while we're aware to not build these habits and grow our pet peeve list and what we can't stand. Let's focus on what we love, the characteristics that we love in people. Whether you get an aversion and being, okay, let's start that over. Whenever you get an aversion and begin to raise it for a pet, you are taking a step toward fussy, Freddy of one, and making more trouble for himself and everybody's old maidishness. That's funny. Yeah, being fussy, you're a fussy person. It's like you're a toddler. It's like if you don't have things exactly the way you want. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. I remember you guys. Okay, I can't say too much. But let's just say I used to bartend. I used to work at a restaurant in Beverly Hills, and there was somebody a customer who would come in, and this person, I will not reveal if it was female or male. This person, I mean, actually, there was a lot of them, but one in particular had to have things a certain way. And if they didn't get it a certain way, would throw, I mean, I thought it was a joke. Like I thought the stories were lore, like folklore, but I experienced it for the first time. I was shocked. Like I think my mouth was gaped when this person said something about like their tomatoes weren't right and the anger and the offense that this person had. I thought that they were joking, and I almost started busting out laughing at like that. But at the end of the day, being in psychology, I realized this person had a small window of tolerance and it was a huge deal to them. And just because I wouldn't freak out at something like that, and who am I to judge them, right? Of course, I'm not going to hang around people like that, pray for them, have boundaries, but it just showed uh just a lack of to be able to handle situations that you don't feel safe in, right? If like you put your order in and your tomatoes aren't delivered the way you ordered them, like people could have total meltdowns. And normally, of course, it would be easy, like, you're ridiculous, get over it. Come on, stop being such a baby. But at the end of the day, like what's really happening inside that person's head? I remember one of my professors when we were in grad school for psychology. She said, some people have like a span of pain of tolerance of like this, and some people have it like this. And so you can't judge someone that has a really low pain threshold, emotionally pain threshold, or like sensitivity. And it's really sad because those people do get judged a lot, and not a lot of people like to be around them. And then it's like doubly sad because then they're alone and like unable to regulate their emotions. It's really, really sad. They're just difficult to be around. But it's just like an emotional developmental issue. It's really sad. Anyways. All right. So whenever you get, angry about something, don't start raising it like a pet and feeding it because you'll be fussy and fretty and be an old maid. Okay. Rule number 19, stop kicking at every pinprick life sends you. If you want to respect yourself or ever make a life worthy of the name you have got to be big. If you want to respect yourself or ever make a life worthy of the name you have got to be big. Big things don't come to petty people. Big things don't come to petty people, y'all. We got to be big people. Big things don't come to petty people, but big things simply can't stay away from big people. Oh, that's good. Big things simply can't stay away from big people. You can size up your tendencies and see whether you are growing toward littleness or bigness, insignificance or greatness, by noting whether you ignore some of the bites or whether you hit back every time a human mosquito stings you. This is huge. Okay, like, when you get offended or someone like disrespects you or something and you like bite your tongue, right? Of course, if it happens repeatedly, take the necessary precautions. But if somebody like slightly disrespects you, it's like they might be having a bad day. They might be stressed out, right? It's like be the bigger person, breathe. Remember, it's not about you. Don't kick back at it. That's what she's saying. Be great, go higher, be the bigger person, take the higher road. Try to see if you can ignore some of those little picks, pricks, pokes, right? When people annoy you, when people yell at you, you have to yell at them back. Do you match their energy? If they're basement, low level vibe, do you go down and meet them? Or do you keep your head up and you keep walking, even if it's annoying, right? But it's like we have to be bigger than our pride because it could hurt our pride. Like, oh my God, I can't believe they talk to me like this and I'll show them, you know? But it's like, remain graceful, remain calm, take the higher road. And also realize, wow, maybe that person had a bad day. Maybe they're under a lot of stress. Again, if it continues to happen, have boundaries and take the necessary precautions. But if it just happens once, it's like, you never know what people are going through, you know? You may feel you are unfortunate. You may feel you are unfortunate that no one else has quite so much to bear. But the fact is that people with big minds and big affairs have a great number of things that happen to them than others. That's the truth. More money, more problems. Their activities bring them into contact with a far larger number of people, and the envy their success creates in small minds makes them the victims of many things the world knows nothing about. We see this all the time with, musicians, artists, celebrities, famous people. Let's really listen to that. So you may feel you're unfortunate that no one else has big issues and problems to bear. But the fact is that people with big minds and big affairs, people that are doing big things, have a greater number of things that happen to them than others. So people that take risks, put themselves out there, they open themselves. Like even me here on my little YouTube here, right? Everybody's actually fabulous. I only attract amazing people, but back in the day, because I think this is 4 years old now, there was a couple comments that were like, ooh, it's like, well, I put myself out there, right? I opened myself up to the criticism, to comments from other people. And not everyone's going to like you when you put yourself out there. But when you stay small and you don't take risks and you don't put yourself out there, you are not going to expose yourself to a lot of issues. So the bigger your cause, the bigger you put yourself out there, the bigger the risks, the bigger the problems. It just matches. But the smaller, and that's why a lot of people choose to stay small, because you don't want to deal with all that. Fair enough. And we've seen a lot of people who can't handle it, and unfortunately, it doesn't end well. So the fact is that big people have big problems. Their activities bring them into contact with big numbers of people. They get a lot of attention, and these people can envy their success because they have small minds. And then these people who are famous, they're victims. And there's many things that happen to them that the world doesn't know about. But they rise above them by ignoring and forgetting them. You just got to ignore that stuff. Those who are big enough to rise above the crowd are also big enough to bear the mudslinging for which such eminence makes them the target. If you want to evolve above the dead level, you must be prepared, get your share of unjust, even false criticism. But realize that, after all, this is a compliment to you, since it is a well-known psychological fact that people never bother to knock those they consider their inferiors. I love her. See, you don't see people who are successful criticizing those below them. You just don't. Nobody will ever judge someone doing less than them or more than them. I don't know. You know what I mean. People who are successful compliment each other, bring each other up, help each other out. But people who aren't successful and who are miserable and aren't really doing a lot, all they do is criticize and point fingers because they really are just projecting that they feel like garbage and like losers themselves. That's what's happening. So the saying is, which is going out of my head, I see it every day on Instagram in one way or another. You'll never see somebody criticizing you. You'll never see somebody doing more than you criticizing you or something. Put it in the chat if any of you guys know what this is. Yeah, people who are happy and who are achieving things, they don't have time to criticize other people. It's people who are doing nothing. Armchair critics. It's like that Theodore Roosevelt quote or Eleanor Roosevelt quote, the man in the arena. Let's read that together. Let's read that together. That's exactly what she's saying. The man in the arena. The man in the arena. Theodore Roosevelt. Eleanor Roosevelt did Small Minds, the Small Minds quote, which I'll read that one too. But anyways. All right. Theodore Roosevelt delivered this speech entitled Citizenship is a republic. Okay, where is it? Hello. Hello. Man in the arena. The man in the arena. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither nor victory nor defeat. I love that so much. This is a thing. You know, I was saying like I have no tolerance for cynical, bitter people. I also have no tolerance for cowards. People who judge other people, always up in their business, and they have no balls themselves. They never put themselves out there. They never look within, take responsibility, take accountability, admit when they're wrong. It's just the older you get, like my window of tolerance is cemented shut for that. And I do have grace for younger people because you learn it as you go. It's hard. I mean, I was a big jerk face when I was in my 20s and even in my early 30s. But the older you get, the more humble you get, right? The more humble you get. Yeah, birds of a feather flock together. Having patience, being kind to people who do that, but I just have no tolerance for that, right? Like you will not be my friend. No, you won't. I will not run with that because it's a very repelling energy. So I only hang out with people in the arena, people who are willing to put themselves out there. And don't be afraid. Like I say, fall flat on your face. Don't sit in the stands. Don't sit in the bleachers. Get in the game, right? Even like this, I always encourage people to start their own YouTube channel. I'm reading books. Okay. And I almost hit my 3,000 hours to start like memberships and stuff, the book clubs. And then I can hit 400 hours and I'm sorry, 4,000 hours. And then I can be like a YouTube partner, which is like a dream. I love YouTube so much. So it's just consistency, discipline, focus on what you want. Like I'm going to do this for the rest of my life as long as YouTube's here. I love it. I love it. That was a tangent. Okay. So we're talking about people who actually go into the arena. They get criticism because they put themselves out there. It says you realize that when people are unjust, unfair, falsely criticizing you, it's really a compliment, since it's a well-known psychological fact that people never bother to knock those they consider their inferiors. So people only criticize people doing more than them. I think that's the thing. Begin to school yourself not to mind mud, and especially never to throw any back. Mud that is let alone dries, turns to dust, and eventually flies back into the eyes of him who slung it. Oh, I'm going to put that on my wall. Mud. So when someone throws mud in your face, just let it alone. Let it dry right there on your face. Don't even touch it. Let it dry. Let it turn into dust. And it will fly right back into the face of the person who threw it in your face to begin with. Oh, that's the best thing I've ever heard. We're going to end there. This is really good. I can already see I'm going to love rule number 20. Stay tuned. Tomorrow you're going to want to hear it. All right, y'all. I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to learn anything else about the programs that I run, all the information's below if you want to work one-on-one with me. I'm a licensed psychotherapist as well as a mindset coach, and I love helping people. And I have a lot of cool offerings. So if you want to check it out, look at the link on all of the information below of my YouTube video or the link in my profile, whether it be Facebook or wherever you're watching this. But YouTube is my home. YouTube is my jam. So be sure to like and subscribe. All right. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see